Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss an overview of state nation. Let's delve into it. In modern times, the concept of a state nation has evolved. There is a difference between a state nation and a nation state. A nation state is a political entity that consists of a defined territory with the borders and a population that shares a common culture, language, and history. It is characterized by a centralized government that exercises control and authority over the population within its territory. In contrast, the concept of nation state has evolved into a state nation. It refers to a territory governed by a state that recognizes, accommodates multiple nations within its border. So basically, you can say in nation state there is only a nation with common ethnic group or culture or language, or in state nation you can say that there are multiple nations which are governed by the government. The historical development of state nations are characterized in ancient empires, nation states, and now the United Nations. Ancient empires were those empires which were you can say originated in very ancient times. You can take an example of Roman Empire, Greek Empire, Oriental Empires, etc. The concept of an organized state can be traced back to an ancient empires like the Roman and Greek Empire. Ancient empire refer to a large and powerful political entity that existed in the ancient world. These empires were characterized by their extensive territories, centralized governments, and dominance over other nations or city states. These nations were territorially very huge, and they have a lot of land resources, etc. And they were very ancient, and they were the government of these ancient empires were very dominated, and sometimes these governments can fall in the category of dictatorship. On the other hand, the nation states are the states whose emergence we can see in the 19th century, and a nation state refers to a sovereign territory that is governed by a single nation. It is characterized by a homogeneity of its population in terms of a language, culture, history, and often a shared geographical territory. Sometimes there is a nation, but it does not have a shared geographical territory. For example, the Kurds. Kurds are uh, spread into Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, and many other countries. But they do not have a shared geographical territory, but they are a nation. United Nations. The creation of United Nations in 1945 marked a significant moment in the history of nation states, bringing together countries from around the world with a common goal. And their common goal was primarily the Bretton Woods system. The Bretton Woods system was the creation of system that emphasized establishment of many international organizations for you can say as United Nations, and they emphasized on free trade agreements, tariff-free world, and many other things. Characteristics of modern state nation: diversity. Modern state nations are characterized by a diverse population with a range of culture, language, ethnicities, races, religions, and even nationalities. People are diverse, sharing same territory, resources, and the government. Democracy. Many modern state nations have embraced democratic ideals, allowing citizens to elect their own leaders and participate in decision making process, because decision making process is at most priority in democracy. They participate in freedom of life, speech, education, property, right to have family or property, and political participation. Democracy is a system of government in which the power and authority are ultimately held by the people. So people can, held accountable to the government, and the government are answerable to the people. Democracy is a form of government where citizens have the right to participate in decision making process either directly or through elected representatives. In a democratic system, the majority's will is usually respected, and there are mechanisms in place to protect individual rights and ensure accountability. The third characteristic of modern state nation is nationalism, and nationalism can be seen throughout the world. Nationalism is a strong force in many modern state nations, promoting the idea of shared national identity. It asserts that the nation and the state should align and that the nation's identity and culture should preserve through the establishment of a nation state. Nationalism emphasizes the loyalty and devotion of individuals to the nation above other affiliations. So basically, you nationalists or the people who are in favor of nationalism do not really like internationalization or internationalism. They do not like international organizations. They do not like doing agreements with international organizations, or sometimes they prefer to have very protectionist policies, and they force their government to place their country, their nationalist identity above all things. The fourth characteristic of modern state nation is globalization. Globalization is a phenomena characterized by the increased interconnectedness and interdependence of economies, cultures, and populations worldwide. So basically, it is a thing which is called the world has become a global village. You can see the other uh, just one click away. If your uh, family member is living far uh, from you, and you can just call them, and this is the thing, this is the basic thing of globalization, that everything is accessible, everything is in the hands of people. And the main tenet of this globalization is, you can say, the internet. Through internet, the globalization was possible. It is driven by the intensification of economic and commercial exchanges, as well as international investments and global scale. Globalization involves the convergence of cultural and economic systems, leading to the development of processes, the seizing of opportunities, and the resolution of challenges in the economic activity around the world. Next are the challenges faced by state nations. The first challenge is managing diversity. As state nation has, you can say, a lot of nations or a lot of ethnic groups, races. So it is very difficult for the government to manage the conflicts between the diverse nations or ethnic groups. The example, you can say that Hindu Muslim conflicts or Christian Jews conflicts. It is important or crucial for the government to manage these kind of diverse ethnic groups and nations inside the country. The second challenge faced by nation state or state nation is political instability. Disagreements over political power and ideology can cause instability and even violence within a state nation. You can say see this in terms of a successionist movement, where a minority is not getting its proper rights or political representation or the representation of its ideology on national arena. So they abruptly erupt, and they just move their movements into a successionist movement where they sometimes want their separate homeland. Third challenge is national identity and integration. Obviously, state nations must work to foster a sense of national identity and integration among their citizens while respecting the identity of various nations within the state. Fourth one is obviously the minority right, where minority sometimes they have less representation in political arena. Their ideology is not well accepted around the nation or sometimes around the world. um, you can see the Muslims attacks in many other English countries. So it is important for the government to ensure minority rights when minority are living in the state nation. Fifth challenge is political representation. It is the most important challenge as designing a political system that adequately represent the interests of different nations within the state. It is very crucial because when there is a minority, it is their sometimes constitutional right to have political representation to cater or foster their interest on the global level. Economic disparities. Uh, Obviously, minorities sometimes see economic disparity as resources are not allocated to them equally as majority nations of the country are allocated to. Examples of modern state nations you can say as United States. United States has a diverse population. You can see black population, you can see white population, you can see um, a brown population. United States has a very diverse population system and a large geographic region that remains united by a shared history and national identity. Japan, being just an island nation with a homogeneous population, Japan's culture and language have evolved over centuries to become a unique and distinctly Japanese identity. And Japanese people, they are one of the most honest people around the world. India has, a vast population which is united by shared history and culture as well as commitment to democratic ideals. And recently, they launched their mission to Sun, and they reached to Moon. So India comes into the category of modern state nations because it has Muslims, it has Jews, it has Hindus. Next is Brazil. Brazil has a diverse population with a complex and often contradictory national identity forged from many cultures that have come together there. The role of state nation in globalizing world. So the role of a state nation in globalizing world is multifaceted. Here are some key aspects. They promote and regulate economic processes. There is international cooperation, there is international agreements, there is international economic or trade agreements or military agreements or air or naval agreements between states. There is the a key aspect of safeguarding power differentials. There is also a key aspect of defining borders and exercising control, because a border makes a country and it defines a country that, for example, Russia has the largest territory in the world, which means that Russia has the largest um, borders in the world. So, as the world become more interconnected in terms of economic treaties, in terms of globalization, in terms of internationalization, in terms of industrialization, in terms of military cooperation, you name it. The role of a state nation continues to evolve, whether it is through economic alliances or cultural exchange. State nations will continue to play a vital role in shaping the future of the world. That's for the day. See you tomorrow.